whole load of samples. So for example, if you're sitting at an instrument with a lot of different samples lined up in front of you, you might be doing that test repeatedly on a series of samples. So results by method, which I'll just start, if we're interested in, and it allows you to just quickly enter a series of results. It's quite a simple screen, so I don't think this will take too long to explain. Okay, so we open up like this. Not a lot to see. We've got some common buttons that you see in all the applications around here. But as usual, there's no data loaded. So the first thing we have to, it brings up the select records to load, which is the same as throughout the rest of the system. And it gives us a list of methods. So I'm going to choose parameter types, confirm my selection, and we have parameter types, and then we've got a list of all the samples that contain that method and for which you can enter results. So in other words, if the samples have been given a validation status or approval status, then they're no longer available to have the results entered. Similarly, if I think it says status N, they're not available to have results entered, so you can't see them in that list. I did say, actually, if we go back into load records, you can select more than one record if you want to. So I could select parameter types and demo limits or something. I've got 3. If you have more than one, they're all listed there. So if I highlight parameter types, it takes us back to the list of samples. So if I just click on one of these samples, I'll click on one of these ones down here. It gives me a list of all the parameters that appear on this method. It just so happens that that method I've highlighted is one that just showcases all the different types of parameter you can have within Qualoop. So we've got free text, numeric, calculation. So it's not actually a real life example, but you can see how it's one method on this sample. So it tells you the sample ID again, and then it's all the parameters that are available. So if you want to restrict the samples that you can see in here, I'm going to just type in that, and it should restrict it just down to the samples that are on. I've only got one batch, so I didn't have to type any more of it than that. I knew that's what that would do, but you can put in search strings down to a particular batch or similar, just so you can reduce the amount you're looking at. So if I highlight each one, you can see for sample number 1, there's actually one bit of data being put in there. And the idea is you could go down, enter a result, go to the next one, enter a result, save changes. It seems to be running a little bit slow, but I think this is because I'm running it remotely. So that's one way of doing it. But at the moment, we're actually seeing, oh, we should be, come back. We see all the parameters, but you can also filter it down so you can only see a particular parameter that you're interested in. So if I go to this list here, all parameters, and actually say, no, I only want to see, let's have date. Nope, I've got date and time. I can't see date. I'll go date and time then. Okay, so it should then, if I go from sample to sample, see the sample ID is changing up here. It's only showing me that parameter, but I might say, actually, I want to enter numeric. Same thing again, if I click from sample to sample. So I've entered a result for 1, I've entered a result for 2, did I put one for 3? So if I go to 4, so it quickly becomes a bit easier to see what you're doing. I should say, I don't know if I've shown you this before in these classes, but you can hide that list and get a little bit more screen real estate here for seeing more information. I better highlight something so you can actually see. So if I go back to all parameters, and apart from that, the results entry rules are exactly the same as they are when you're entering from a sample. So we've got the ability, I will go to this one, we have the ability to validate a result if we've got validation permissions. That was number 4, wasn't it? if we scroll along to this end, we've got the information button that will display if there are any limits. It will show you what the limits are, and it will show you the result history if you've changed the history. And that's pretty much all there is to say about it. So to recap, you load the method or methods you're interested in. Let's try a different one. Let's go for demo limits. Oops, I've closed this. Let me open that so you can just see it again. So that will display, oh well, it gives half of it. That will display the method that you've selected, or methods, so you can choose between them. That will automatically bring back a list of all the samples which have that method on, and you can enter results for. So it depends on the status of the sample, the status of the method. And then you highlight each one, and it will show you the parameters. It just so happens for demo limits, there is one parameter. If I was to reload and go back to the parameter types one, highlight that. Oh, I've still got my filter in place. It gives you all the different parameters, at which point you have the opportunity to filter, and that is populated from the list of parameters. Strangely, it doesn't seem to be showing date, which is a bit weird. I shall look into that, but if you choose one anyway and you go from sample to sample, it just shows each one in turn. So the idea is, I think, you'd be sitting by an instrument, you say, right, I'm measuring pH, you select pH, it shows you a list of all the samples, and you can filter it down to the ones you've actually got in front of you, and then you just click from one to the other, entering results and putting save in. So the idea is it's supposed to be easier than opening up a sample, because if you open a sample you'll see all the parameters, and if there's many you could be scrolling down the page. So it just focuses it only to the results that you want to enter for what you're actually doing on that particular day. Okay, so that's my rather speedy dem. It's taken just about 10 minutes. So thank you for watching this, and I'll be available to answer any questions you might have after.